Good morning. We'll call the board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good morning and welcome to the board meeting. Before we continue with the agenda, we'll go over some guidelines and tips regarding our virtual or Zoom meeting. Hannah, would you take that for us, please?
Yes, good morning. This is Hannah Choflat, Employee Relations Director here at McLeod County. Just a couple of quick things. Thanks for joining us this morning. As some of you heard just a few minutes ago, we just asked whenever you are speaking today, or when you're not speaking today, if you could just mute your microphone and turn your video off, which you should see at the bottom left of your screen, and only unmute your microphone and turn on your video when and if you are speaking today. We would ask that whenever someone is speaking, again, that their video will be on and that they would identify themselves, and when they're finished speaking, say thank you. If there is any discussion or question that you have, we'd ask for your patience as we're navigating this Zoom meeting. As I mentioned earlier, on the left or the right of your screen, you should see a chat box. And so if you do have a question or your comment was not heard, if you wouldn't mind just either typing that question or comment or putting a question mark in the chat, we will get to your question. And again, thank you for your patience. Just a reminder for our commissioners today who are, some of us are here in the courthouse and some of us are calling in remotely. Commissioners, we would ask again that you would identify yourself, say thank you when you're finished speaking. The board chair will be the one person who's able to interrupt or ask for a clarifying question. And for every vote today, there is a roll call that is required. I will be mediating and doing my best here with audio and technical, anything that comes up technically. So if you have any questions, again, you can chat that in the right column. And just a reminder that anything you do type on the right, that we can see those things, and those things are live. And just for clarification, if our commissioners wouldn't mind turning their videos on, we will have the commissioners' videos on the whole time. Thank you very much.
All right, very good. Before we start the meeting, we'll take a roll call of the commissioners. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger? Commissioner Kruger, you can just say present or you're indicating you're present for the meeting.
Present.
Commissioner Pohlmeyer?
Present.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Present.
Commissioner Nagel is present. All right. Moving on with the agenda item, and we do have a rather lengthy agenda, and with every vote needing to be a roll call vote, it will take us a little bit longer today, so please be patient. Consideration of agenda items. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Hearing no corrections, I'll move on the agenda. Commissioner Kruger.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second. Commissioner Pohlmeyer.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Pohlmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel is yes. Agenda approves 5-0. Consent agenda.
All right, move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second. Commissioner Pohlmeyer. Second.
Second by Commissioner Pohlmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Pohlmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel is yes. Passes 5-0. All right. On to the agenda where there are two proclamations I will read. The first is County Government Month, County Matters. whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serving more than 3 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities, and whereas counties provide health services, administer justice, keep communities safe, foster economic opportunities, and much more, and whereas McLeod County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in an effort to in efficient and cost-effective ways, and whereas the National Association of Counties President Mary Ann Borgsen's leadership is demonstrated how county matters, especially in supporting older adults, their families, and caregivers, and whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of counties' responsibilities, programs, and services, and now therefore be resolved that I, Joe Nagel, Chair of the McLeod County Board and Commissioner, do hereby proclaim April 2020 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government and celebrate activities. The next one, which is always important, but feels even more important this year, Public Health Week. Whereas the week of April 6th through the 12th through 2020 is National Public Health Week, and the theme is looking back, moving forward. And whereas since 1995, the American Public Health Association, through its sponsorship and National Public Health Week, has educated the public, policymakers, and public health professionals about issues important to improving the public health, and whereas U.S. life expectancy has decreased in recent years, and the 3-year drop represents the longest sustained decline in expected lifespan since the Great Recession, further studies consistently show the United States has a lower life expectancy than comparable countries, and whereas there is a significant difference in health status such as obesity, poor mental health, and drug use among people living in rural areas compared to people living in urban areas. And this increases because rural residents are often more likely to face social detriments that negatively impact health, such as poverty, transportation barriers, and lack of economic opportunity. And whereas public health professionals help communities prepare for, withstand, and recover from the impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks such as measles, natural disasters, and disasters caused by human activity. And whereas public health action, together with scientific and technology advances, have played a major role in reducing and some cases eliminating the spread of infectious diseases and in establishing today's disease surveillance and control systems. And whereas 60% of Americans live with a preventable chronic disease, and health risks such as alcoholism, obesity, and tobacco use are the primary reasons for 7 out of every 10 deaths annually in the United States. Now, therefore, I, Joe Nagel, Chair of the McLeod County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim that the week of April 6th to the 12th, 2020, as National Public Health Week in McLeod County, and call upon the people of McLeod County to observe this week by helping our families, friends, neighbors, coworkers, and leaders better understand the value of public health and supporting great opportunities and celebrating public health's accomplishment in the light of this year's theme, looking back, moving forward. Now that everyone is sick of hearing my voice, we will move on to an update of the County Government Center. I believe, Sam, you're on with us to do that?
Yep, and you got Travis as well.
All right, very good. So,
All right.
would you like to start?
Yep, I can go first. Travis Fickman here, president with Contiguity Group. Give the quick synopsis, a little bit on the budget, and then like before, it's been kind of the same status quo. We've been maintaining the budget. That's looking great. We did pull through that roofing change, so that's in the works that we had discussed a few months ago. That was probably the only other big change we had really incorporated. Otherwise, really not a lot changed on the budget front, and our goal has been just continuing with schedule, especially with this unique environment we're getting used to. So, any questions on budget before we have Sam chat a little bit about schedule?
Commissioners, any questions for Travis? All right, Sam, go ahead. Sam, go ahead and unmute.
There, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Sam Pressure with Contiguity Group. Just a little update on schedule. Re-roof has begun this week. Scheduled to take about a week, and they'll have the whole entire roof completed. Sheet rocking is scheduled to start on first floor Monday. Mechanical, electrical rough-in is just about complete on the first floor. They'll move up to the second floor after that. The elevator is going to be finished up this week, and that will be basically put on hold until finishes are done and no one will be using it. Exterior is scheduled to start middle of this month and projected to take about till end of May to finish the parking lot and site work. And in that time, we'll get all the exterior painting of the building, and the windows are scheduled to go in May. So, does anybody have any questions on the schedule or the update?
Commissioners, any questions for Sam?
Mr. Chair, just Sam, we are basically on schedule from the original plan as of yet.
Yes, we are on or ahead of schedule as of this date.
Very good.
Sam, if you would, and not to put more work on you, but with everything going on, we're trying to stay out of there, right? The commissioners are, and any unnecessary traffic. But
yes,
if you get a chance, if you could maybe take a video of the progress of what's going on there and send it through to us for, and I know there's some of those already happening, but, keep those coming our way so we can see what's going on, and that would be appreciated.
no problem. I can do that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Sam or Travis before I let them go? All right, I don't see any, guys. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Central Services. Scott Gribna. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everyone. Scott Gribna, Central Services for McLeod County. I just have one item to bring up. Consider approval to move forward with the tile repair that drains the county property, as well as Health and Human Services parking lot at 1805 Ford Avenue for cost not to exceed $10,000 with funds from county buildings major repair budget. We'd like to complete this repair before we receive any additional heavy rains, so as not to affect other properties along this tile line. This cost is not to exceed $20,000 and will be shared 50-50 with Mark Albrecht.
All right, I'm going to ask Commissioner Kruger to comment on this. Anything you'd like to add, Doug?
Just that, I've been working with this. The estimated costs are probably a little high. We did that intentionally because all the circumstances. There's quite a few different obstacles going through those backyards with utilities, trees, whatnot, pumps, weather conditions. And just for what we're doing, it's a time and material, so I don't expect it to be that high, but being the circumstances of getting together, we wanted to get it high enough so we didn't have to get together to approve that. It'll be supervised through Scott's office, through Ryan and myself. You know, we'll be keeping an eye on there, but I don't see any issues with that. With that, I move to approve going ahead with this project, not to exceed 10,000.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Commissioner Szymanski, second.
I'll take Commissioner Szymanski with the second. All right. Any discussion? And just
Sure, I just want to add on discussion. I've been watching this project for the last couple of years. Doug's been working pretty hard on it. I think we need to recognize that no differently do we have a lot of energy and effort going into our county tile lines to keep the drainage up with the increased demand, and the fact that they're aging. This project is exactly the same. There's a lot of property damage that seems to be happening, and we need to take care of the drainage needs of our own property with that. So definitely in favor of the project.
very good. Thank you, Paul. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Commissioner Kruger?
Hey,
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel is yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. All right, we're on to Public Works. John, are you there?
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning. Are we going to see your pretty face, or are you going to stay darked out?
I can turn it on. Let's see. Hopefully there's no kids in the background.
It's okay if there is. All right. Good morning. So we have quite a few items here. This isn't a bad thing, but I think several of them will have some discussion from the commissioners, so we'll try to stay organized as we go through them. We'll just, John, I'll let you start out each one of them, and then I'll take it back from you, okay?
Sounds good. So item A is to, I'll preface it with, we received bids on March 13th for the Fairgrounds Commercial Building and Horticulture Bathroom Project. We only received one bid from White Construction out of Hutchinson. The bid was $419,796. We believe that was kind of higher than what we thought, and I think it's a little higher than what the appetite was from the commission and the board. So at this time, we're recommending that we reject that bid. Moving forward, we'd like to look at separating that project out with the commercial building being separate from the horticulture building. We'll look at what we can do to revisit the plans and specs with the horticulture building, and then put it out for bids at a later date when we get through some of this current situation. The commercial building, we are moving forward a little bit separately in small pieces with toilet repairs, or new toilets, I should say, and some fixtures, some floor repairs that have been needed in there. So the commercial building will be done as a separate, smaller project in little packages. In addition to the commercial building, we're looking at new toilet fixtures and sinks potentially over in the exhibition building at the fairgrounds as well. But given that the fairgrounds is closed at this time, we thought it would be a good opportunity to move forward with that smaller one, and again come back for the horticulture building. So with that single bid from White Construction of $419,796, we would recommend rejecting that bid.
And I guess I'll start out, John. In the meeting where it first came forward, we all had some sticker shock. Were you able to pull? I mean, it looked pretty fancy, right? The stuff that was coming forward. Were you able to dial in what happened there, or is there any? Because I on the surface agree with you to reject the bid, but were you able to pull anything together and talking to the contractors?
We've been reaching out to the contractor.
Of it?
Yeah, we've been reaching out with the contractor, and they haven't been back to us yet. They've had some other situations going on, and we intend to at some point get together with them, but we haven't been able to connect yet. But that's our intent and goal to figure out what we can do to scale that back and reduce that cost and rebid in the future.
All right, commissioners, any questions for John?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Szymanski,
Go ahead, Ron.
John, when I believe we had an architect do the design on this, did the architect have an estimated cost on this project when it was initiated?
Their ballpark, and it was hard because it was a lot of remodel and new fixtures, but their cost, I recall, was around 200 to 300,000. So it's above that.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right, anything else?
Commissioner Polmeyer here. And I think too that the good thing is to reject this one at this point, and I agree with continuing the smaller projects, and let's get this one rebid to a cost where we can all feel a lot more comfortable at. So I would support rejecting this bid at this point in time.
So is that a motion to reject the bid?
Yes.
All right, motion by Commissioner Polmeyer to reject the bid from White Construction. Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Szymanski.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Yes. Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, John, item B, I guess B, and then keep going down. So
Yeah, do you want to take these individual, or how would you like to handle it?
we have to take them individually, so yes.
Okay, so the number of these are to consider awarding the following 2020 construction projects with funding coming out of our highway construction budget. The first project is County Project CP 20-000-01 and CP 20-000-02. This is our countywide pavement marking and seal coat contracts that we do annually. The low bid on that project was from Aztec Corporation out of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Their low bid was $547,810.59. That amount does include an alternate bid of $14,866.09 for the county courthouse parking lot in Glencoe.
All right. Any questions for John on the first one, item A?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner.
Yes, Ron.
John, I'm looking at that number for the courthouse parking lot, and that is just for striping the parking lot. Is that correct? And my second question would be, with the new government center, if that parking lot is prepared by the time this striping takes place, would that be also included in the project? Thank you.
Yeah, that dollar amount, it does include striping, but it also includes a seal coat and fog seal of the courthouse parking lots. The sheriff's lot on the west side of the courthouse, and then the new parking lot and the road or the driveway on the way in on the east side. So it's more than just striping; it's a regular seal coat as well.
All right. Anyone else with any questions?
All right, move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Project 000-01 is approved 5-0. Okay.
Okay,
Next one, John.
Item B is CP 20-05402. That is a bituminous paving project on County Road 54. Our low bid on that project was Dunnick Incorporated out of Princeburg, Minnesota, with a low bid of $821,300.49. That dollar amount was just a hair under our engineer's estimate, and we recommend award to Dunnick.
All right. Who?
If I may,
Yeah. Commissioner Wright, go ahead.
I Dan, that this project has been quite a battle over the last few years, but it seems as though paving 54 utilizes the hard surface underneath that the cement stabilization gave us. We do need to recognize that we're still pursuing dollars from the contractor for what the highway department feels is damages of an insufficient road project from the past. But at this point, paving 54 makes use of the work that we have been putting into it the last few years. And I still hope that someday we can find a non-paving solution to some of our higher traffic gravels. But with what we have to work with on 54 currently, I'm looking for support to pave that. So I'll put a motion out there to accept.
There's a motion by Commissioner Wright to accept the bids on project, or item B, project 20-054-02. Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Schmidt.
Second by Commissioner Schmansky. Is there any discussion? Yes, I will have some discussion. This has been a real struggle for me. And I'm I'm going to go against it. Not that I would be overall opposed to it in the future. I'm just not there yet today. So my apologies to the other commissioners. I'm not trying to pick a fight. It's just I'm not there yet today. So, any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, Rich Holmeyer here.
Go ahead, Rich.
I guess I will support this simply because I think we need to take care of what we've done on 54 already. And I think this is a way to, as Commissioner Wright had said, to preserve the good that we've done already with the cement stabilization. And hopefully this will give us guidance in the future for how we need to handle some of these high traffic gravel roads. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmansky?
Yes.
And I am no. Motion carries 4-1.
Yeah, item C
All right,
is,
John.
item C would be stated project 43619-004. This is a rehabilitation project on County State Highway 19 in the northwest part of the county. The low bid on that one was as well from Dunnick Incorporated out of Princeburg with a low bid of $1,506,262.61. And we looked over that bid and we believe it's a good bid and recommend award to Dunnick Incorporated.
All right. Any questions for John on this? This is one that's in the district that I represent and has been delayed for a number of years for some other projects. So I would move to approve. Is there a second?
I will second Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmansky?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, John.
Item D, approval of stated project 43611-013. This is for a bridge replacement on our county stated highway 11. The low bid on that project was Everstrong Construction. They're out of Redwood Falls, Minnesota. Low bid of $713,733. Again, that was a good bid we received under our engineer's estimate, and we recommend awarding that. That project is funded partially with state bridge bond funds.
All right. Any questions for John?
To approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Motion carries 5-0. And item
Okay.
E, John.
Item E, our state aid project 436150013, also known as the Morningside project in Glencoe. The low bid on that project was from Dunnick Incorporated out of Princeburg with a bid of $5,025,687.09. That one did have a number of bidders on it, 5 bidders on it, ranging from basically a low bid of $5,025,000 all the way up to $6.6 million. So quite a swing on those bids. They were over the engineer's estimate. In reviewing the engineer's estimate and reviewing other urban projects of this caliber that have been going on this year with this kind of with the economy and the way things are at with labor markets and everything, a lot of the other bids around the area have been coming in higher as well. So although we don't like to see them over the engineer's estimate by a lot like that, it is, looking at the sign of the times, that is within the price is what we should be expecting, and we do recommend award. Part of the joint powers agreement we have with the city of Glencoe requires that Glencoe approve of the bid and accept the bid, and they did that last night at their council meeting. So with that, we recommend award to Dunnick Incorporated for Morningside.
All right. Any questions or just a second, Mr. Young?
John, how are you going to handle the deduct for the work near Highway 212 and the deduct for the watershed portion?
Okay, so for looking at some cost savings going into the project, we talked about removing the first block of the project from 212 up to 11th Street. The reason for removing that portion of the project is we learned from MnDOT is that they've just received highway safety improvement funding, which are federal safety funds, in 2024 for the construction of a roundabout at the intersection of 212 and Morningside. Knowing that project will likely go back on our county roads and the side streets a little bit, a block or so. We're going to remove that first portion. That cost is approximately $135,000. We've had discussions with city and county and staff about removing portions of the project, which would it's basically an outlet for a Buffalo Creek watershed portion that helps with some drainage from the central ponds and some other things. That amount is $140,000, but talking with the city and county staff and some other of the council, and I think the board, there's a feeling that we should leave that portion of the project in there. But how we would handle those, including additional savings going forward with Dunnick, we're going to work with them to see what we can do for other cost saving measures, other value engineering within the project. If there's things that they identify that could potentially be cost saving measures, such as potentially changing from concrete surfacing to bituminous surfacing, if that's a significant change in cost, we'll look at that and other items they bring up as well. But how we would handle those would just be change orders going forward, standard contractual agreements through our MnDOT specifications.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Kruger, I'll turn it over to you. Anything you'd like to add? The district you represent? Timing's impeccable. All right. We're having some technical difficulties here, and we're not going to move on with this vote until we get this fixed.
Anyone else want?
I believe I am. Sorry, guys.
Okay, what's,
Am I back on or not?
you are, Doug. All right, we'll see if we can get through this, maybe. Otherwise, we're gonna take a recess and try to figure this out. This is too big of a vote to mess with this one. In fact, we're gonna do that, everybody. We're gonna take 5 minutes, and Hannah's gonna please see if you can dial this in. So everybody, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. We'll call the meeting back to order. We're under the Public Works, under the consideration of awarding bids, item E, the Morningside project. Commissioner Kruger, anything to add?
Yes, I mean, it ranks in the top 5 things I've done trying to, try to move this forward or get through this whole Morningside project that's went on forever. But with some of Mike's concerns, and I've talked with John, I talked with some of the city council members, I also would like to leave that drainage part in to see how it shakes out. There's another meeting coming up with Buffalo Creek. I don't know if they're going to put any money in it, but I think with the value added engineering for today, aside of that south part that John has already talked about, including with the roundabout, I'm confident. I mean, I did as much work as humanly possible to check with other contractors, and all our advice is not to rebid it. We're looking into doing it bituminously with bituminous, which is a good idea. But unless Mr. Young has any objections, I would like to accept this bid and move forward. Thank you.
So Mr. Young is shaking his head that he has no objections, but Doug was, just a second.
Mike Young here. The bid ought to be accepted as is. John has indicated that he will make any changes through change orders and notify you accordingly. So the bid that you're awarding is the $5,025,687.09.
I would agree with that, Mr. Chair, and that's the way I'd like to proceed. I mean, there's this kind of time comes when you have to trust people, and I feel that with our supervision and transparency with the board, I feel we can move forward. It is a funded project. I mean, I've went through all this stuff. I mean, obviously, and maybe next year, if this virus thing continues, I mean. We may have to look at some changes in a year coming up, but if we try to rebid this right now and try to get the work started this year, there's no possible way that these bids are going to come in any friendlier than they are now. With that, I would have moved to award a bid. What is the exact bid, John? The number?
$5,025,687.09 to Dunning Incorporated.
That's what I would put in my motion to award that bid. Thank you.
Motion by,
Second, Paul Wright.
motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion?
Chair, last week.
And Rich, why don't you hold on?
Yeah.
Commissioner Wright, go ahead.
Chair, last week I did send a letter of support to Glencoe administration to share with their city councilman, and I'll just read my points that I put on there. Just want to let you know that I fully support the Morningside project for the following reasons: safety benefits in relation to the railroad concerns, transportation benefits as a solid transportation corridor in that area that currently does not exist, timing of all funding partners between city, railroad, county, and state LRIP funds, impact of improvements to the water and drainage concerns around the city of Glencoe, and 212. If we locally continue to ask for improvements to 212, we as local government need to stay committed to our own transportation projects to benefit the 212 corridor. I believe it does benefit the county by finishing Morningside as a benefit to both residential and commercial uses. This is a project that will yield benefits for years to come as we look for growth in McLeod County and the Glencoe area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowmeyer, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I listened through the Glencoe City Council meeting last night via their Zoom meeting, and I fully support this project also. We're funded. We're ready to go. If we do anything else, it's going to cost us a lot more money later down the road, and this should be a real economic benefit to the city of Glencoe in the future, allowing that east end of the city to progress accordingly. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski? Ron, can you vote again, please? I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
And I'm yes. Motion passes 5-0. All right. John, you can continue with your agenda items.
Okay, item C is this is related to the bridge project you just awarded. We need to approve a Minnesota DOT agreement for a local bridge replacement program grant agreement. It's number 103-1837 and the corresponding resolutions 20-CB20. Again, this grant is funded with state bond, or this, I should say, portion of this project is funded with state bond funds. And this agreement and corresponding resolution allow us to receive $258,013.25 in those grant funds for that bridge replacement on County Road 11.
All right. Any questions for John?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve this agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
I'm yes. Motion carries 5-0. John, go ahead.
Okay, last item for me is to consider approval of another 2020 construction project. This is State Project 43-070-016. This is ground in wet reflective striping and rumble strips on portions of County State Highway 3 and 15. These would be concrete roads that were recently done, and the low bid for that project is AAA Striping Services out of Maple Lake, Minnesota, with a bid of $278,000, $278,470.93. And again, this is a project that is those HSIP funds, Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, which are federal funds, federal safety funds, and that covers 90% of the project.
All right. Any questions for John? Yes, Ron. Yeah, you're really hard to hear, Ron, so if you can speak up or whatever you need to do.
All right. Mr. Chair, I move to approve the contract for the rumble.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0. John, thank you very much. Sorry about the technical difficulty.
No problem. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Yes.
Just a comment before we move on. I just want, for those that are listening, I mean, there's been a lot of work gone into all these projects, and I'm just going to speak for myself right now. But with everything going on, it seems like I just don't want people to think that we aren't thinking about what's going on and what's been going on with the coronavirus. But these projects have been in the work for a long time. They're in the work. They're in our budgets. They're good. We have to move on with stuff. I mean, we're going to have to be cognizant as the next year comes on. and see how everything shakes out. I've done a lot of work with other counties. People are moving forward with their projects. They're probably not creating new ones, but they are moving on with the projects. They've done all this work, and I think we're doing. Again, I'm speaking for myself, but I think we're doing the right thing. These are tough decisions, and some nights it's hard to sleep, but I believe we're doing the right thing. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Doug. Okay, Auditor Treasurer Connie,
Good morning.
welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
All right. I am here for one item only. So item A, consider adopting resolution 20 CB19 to transfer examination, verification, and certification of current taxes on property related to recording of documents from the McLeod County Auditor Treasurer to the McLeod County Recorder. Currently, the Recorder's Office is able to e-record all documents except documents whereby there's a land split and the recording of plats. Plats, however, cannot be e-recorded per statute. In order for the recorder to be able to e-record all eligible documents, the duty of examination, verification, and certification of current taxes needs to be transferred to the recorder, and then this would allow them to e-record the deeds whereby the land parcel has been split and real estate taxes are paid in full. This resolution pertains to e-records and paper documents recorded in the Recorder's Office. Just some background, in 2005, the County Board authorized the transfer of examination, verification, and certification of delinquent taxes from the Auditor Treasurer to the Recorder. And in 2012, the County Board authorized the transfer, of the certification of mortgage, registration tax, and state deed tax from the Auditor Treasurer also to the Recorder. I and Recorder Lynette Schrupp have worked together to make our offices run more efficiently and provide better service to the public. We have both discussed transferring this duty at some point in the future. However, the COVID-19 emergency has led us to bring this before the board now rather than later. It's efficiency in our office. Do you have any questions for me?
All right, Commissioners, any questions for Connie? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Commissioner Polmeyer.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer,
Second, Commissioner Kruger.
second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski? And I am a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, on to the Attorney's Office. Mr. Young?
I am at Sheila, and it's not an improvement, but it is what it is. Dr. Strobel asked me to present her medical examiner's report today, and I would note that this would normally be Student Government Day, and it's unfortunate that we don't have the students here, but it is what it is. The medical examiner's report is presented to you on 2 pages that are included within your packet. The medical examiner will have a death investigator visit any death scene that occurs outside of a hospital or a care facility, and then they will make a determination as to whether or not it is unusual or unknown to a degree that an autopsy is required. They only had 10 autopsies this year, which is far down from what it's been in the past. They have only had 10 accidental deaths, which is down from the past. Only 1 motor vehicle fatality in 2019, that's down from 6 in 2018. There were no deaths that were attributed to controlled substance offenses. There were 5 in 2018. So you can see that the numbers for the medical examiner took an unusual dip this year. 7 individuals died from complications of falls, and those individuals were aged 74 to 92. There was one death that was undetermined as to the cause. That was an 80-year-old individual who died in a house fire. There were 3 suicides. There was one incident where bones were found and examined and deemed not to be human. And there were 190 cremations that were approved. The statistics are on the backside or the second page of her report, and they are there for your review, so you can see how her office has changed over the last five years. And with that, I will end that portion of the report. I would recommend that you accept her report.
Is there a motion to approve the medical examiner's report? Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Smith.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Motion carries 5-0. So Hannah, then Michael have to go back here. No. All right, Mr. Young?
Now for the county attorney's annual report, I would just note that at the beginning of this, of this meeting, we heard a proclamation about public health. And I was going to mention to you that I attended a seminar in which Dr. Baker, who is the medical examiner from Hennepin County, gave a presentation. And one of the things that he informed us about was that for the years ending in 2018, so in 2016, 17, and 18, the life expectancy of Americans has decreased each of those three years. That had not happened since the Spanish influenza and World War I, which were in the area of about 1918. So we were in a public health crisis from the time of 2016 through the time of 2018. The great majority of that reduction in life expectancy was through mental health and public health related issues, such as suicide, drug addiction, chemical addiction, and opioid addiction. Opioids and opioid addiction killed more people than breast cancer did. So that is a part of the public health proclamation that Mr. Chair talked about earlier, and we have to thank our public health people. What they do is extraordinarily valuable. With regard to my report, on page number 1 is a listing of our felony and gross misdemeanor adult charges, criminal charges for 2019. They are down about 3% from 2018. Some of the ones that are of note and of the greater number of offenses, our assaults were 60, and those are felony and gross misdemeanor, and that was up from 47 in 2018. Our criminal sexual conduct went from 18 in 2018 down to 6 in 2019. And note there, this ongoing virus situation is of particular concern because many of our victims of sexual assaults are juveniles, and we learn about those offenses through our school system. So that is an area that we need to have particular attention to, is our child victims of sexual abuse. The driving while impaired offenses decreased from 73 down to 50, and the drug offenses decreased from 160 down to 146. For some reason, fleeing a peace officer in a motor vehicle became far more popular. That increased from 5 offenses in 2018 to 14 in 2019. Ironically, even though our charges went down 3%, our number of convictions went up about 3 or 4%. We had 133 felony convictions in 2019. That was up from 124 in 2018 and 125 in 2017. On page 2 of our report, I want to draw your attention to our social service portion of our report, and particularly the termination of parental rights, the child protection, and the permanency portions of our report. This is where the drug offenses from the previous page translate to impact upon kids and families through parents that are addicted and not properly able to care for their children. Those numbers did go down in 2018 for those 3 categories, with 70 different cases involving 124 children. That decreased to 46 cases involving 86 children in 2019. So that went down about a quarter. I believe that is not a trend that is likely to continue, but I hope that the trend does continue, because that means that much less disruption of families and kids' home environment. Page 3 is the petty and misdemeanor offense listings. Those numbers also went down about 20% from 631 in 2018 to 566 in 2019. The juvenile offenses also went down, and I'm looking now at pages 5 and 6 of our report. The total number of charges went from 371 in 2018 to 292 in 2019. That is a substantial decrease, and it's a good decrease. A part of that is fewer children in the age range of 14, 15, 16, and 17. But an explanation, I don't have one. It's down about 25%. The diversions listed on page 7 are cases where children have committed an offense, but we send them through a diversion program rather than bringing them into the court system. The appeals and the post-conviction relief cases are talked about on pages 8, 9, 10, and 11. Our real estate tax appeals are on pages 12, 13, and 14. And I would note that some of the ones that are listed here have been settled since the end of last year. For instance, Miller Manufacturing, this board has approved a settlement, and that is pending final approval by the tax court. But I would note that items 17 through 22 all involve a county ditch system, wherein it was county ditch 7, or joint ditch actually, 17 for McLeod and Sibley, wherein the property owners filed a tax appeal with the Minnesota tax court. That has since been heard by the tax court and referred to the district court. So those were not really tax appeals, those were really ditch cases. Our sexually dangerous person commitments and mentally ill and dangerous are on pages 15 and 16. For somebody to be committed as sexually dangerous, they have to have a past pattern of sexual offenses and a future likelihood of being dangerous. And those people get committed to a state hospital for treatment until they have received enough treatment so they are no longer imminently dangerous. I think that we have one person who has gone through that type of a program and has gotten a provisional discharge into a halfway house or a less severe setting than a state hospital. Mentally ill and dangerous means that a person is mentally ill so as to not be able to have the normal functions that you or I might have. Well, some might question me, but that you have, and that they're an imminent danger to others. So it might be a stalking pattern, it might be just a lack of touch with reality, an obsession with an individual, something of that sort. And those are on pages 16, 17, and 18. Finally, the civil matters in which I represent you are listed out on pages 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. One that's interesting to note in particular is item number 12. And this was a person who followed a snowplow into an intersection and got into the snowplow's blind spot. And the snowplow went to back up and collided with the vehicle. The court ruled that we are not liable because of governmental immunity, and you're supposed to stay back from those snowplows. Finally, the forfeitures that we've been involved with are listed on pages 24, 25, 26, and that's it. And those typically are cases where somebody has either committed a fleeing offense, a DWI offense of where there are prior offenses, or a drug offense, and has used the motor vehicle to implement and to assist them with the offense. Under our law, we can forfeit those. That adds to our budget about $10,000 per year. It's not a big item, but it's meant to take the tools out of the hands of those that are committing offenses. And finally, the child support offenses or child support cases are listed on pages 27 and 28. I have called to your attention in the past that our highest ever child support collection year was 2008. And the Great Recession came after that. You see that we've never gotten back to the amount of child support that we collect from non-custodial parents for children to the level that it was back in 2008. So that shows that the wage earners haven't really enjoyed the economic benefit that a lot of America has enjoyed over the last 13 years. One thing that I would note is this virus is going to change an awful lot of things. About 2/3 of our drug cases come from an officer stopping somebody for a minor offense like expired tabs or a headlight that's out, or failing to dim their brights, or speeding, and then once the officer makes the stop, then they discover the odor of marijuana. They search the car and find the drugs. That's probably where 2/3 of our drug cases come from. With the reduction in the amount of travel, there is going to be a reduction in those cases. There is going to be a corresponding increase, though, on the domestic related cases. So your law enforcement and our office are going to work together, but we're going to face a changing world, and time will tell where it leads us. Any questions?
Any questions for Mike?
Thank you. Then the last item that I have.
Do we need to approve?
Sure.
Okay. All right, we'll look for a motion to approve the county attorney's annual report.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Kruger.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Was that you, Rich?
Correct. Yes, thank you.
All right. Any discussion? Ron, are you still with us? There you are. All right. All right. Hearing no discussion, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
I'm yes. Motion carries 5-0. Mr. Young?
And then the last item that I have for you is a quit claim deed to be executed by your county board chair and your county administrator that conveys the shop in Lester Prairie to the economic authority for the city of Lester Prairie. and I would recommend that you authorize the board chair and administrator to execute that.
Any questions for Mr. Young on that?
Mr. Chair,
Approve.
Commissioner Szymanski to approve the Lester Prairie shop transfer.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski, is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mike. All right, move to county administration or calendars. I'll start with Commissioner Wright, who's in the room with me.
Not a lot of meetings, that's for sure. Been a lot of phone calls. Unfortunately, we've had to delay a couple of very valuable ditch meetings just because, although it is easier for staff to meet and board members through video, it's just hard to get the required public input to have a decent meeting. And so we've decided on County Ditches 63 and 64, which was, again, very important to meet prior to planting time, but it's just not going to happen. So definitely changes the way that we're able to do business with our committees and citizen input.
Thank you. Commissioner Kruger, we'll take you next.
Just echo what Commissioner Wright just said, but I have been working a little bit with JDA trying to finish up some work that's in progress, working with the contractors and some concerns of the landowners. Department head meeting on the 1st. I also had a workshop with Buffalo Creek Watershed on the 3rd. Yesterday I had an MRC meeting. All of these are on GoToMeeting or through the computer. All the concerns from our rural counties are a lot alike to us. We're a little bit different in some of the circumstances as some of the northern counties, but we're all dealing about the same different things. So, and last night I attended the city council a meeting via video, and I spend a lot of this week on Morningside. Thank you.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Okay, yeah, I'm like everyone else, I've been staying at home. Been a UCAP meeting on the 26th by Zoom. Had our Prime West meeting by phone on the 2nd. I did meet with Adam and a couple of landowners on County Ditch 19. There's a issue there that we're working on, and other phone asset or communications with constituents, and I'm just happy that we're able to have the technology we have, that we can still meet and get done what we can do. Obviously, some meetings are being canceled, and we'll get through this, and hopefully we'll come out the other end better and smarter people than we are walking into it. So everyone stay safe. Thank you.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since our last board meeting, we had the Prime West Joint Powers Board meeting last week by teleconference with all of our 24 member counties. Primary discussion was the COVID-19 virus and how it affects our clients of Prime West Health, and also the fraud, waste, and abuse annual training was conducted via teleconference and computer access. So it was a very good meeting. It's a big difference when you can do it by telephone rather than traveling 110 miles to Alexandria for the meeting. So that's all the meetings I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, and Ron, whatever you did with your audio there, it sounded great. So, so thank you for that. My report, I've had some busy weeks as commissioners, as a commissioner, and I think this wins the last 2 weeks. between the phone calls with administration, the special board meetings, the department head meetings, and then the regular meetings, which included Health and Human Services, some Morningside meetings, a little bit of Fair Commission. These weeks have flown by, and I still trying to find time to get in the squad car once in a while. So thank you to administration for realizing I'm working nights when you make phone calls. And that's very kind of you, but not necessary. And we'll continue to work together and go through this. So, Sheila, anything to add to our calendars?
I have nothing, Mr. Chair.
All right, so we'll move on to the COVID-19 updates. And
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Doug.
I just have to add something here. My wife, I don't know if you guys can see this, but these are masks that my wife's making. And she's making different sizes, different styles, different whatever. But if there is people, either yourselves or our departments that need some masks, my number or email is available, and we'll see that you get them. She's been putting out quite a few. Her and several other her friends are doing a lot of sewing, and again, it's a shameless plug, but whatever. So there.
No. That's great, Doug. And then one more. This isn't another thing that Commissioner Kruger needs some credit for. He's been working with Trailblazer and public health regarding some meals on wheels and some delivery there. And we've also hooked them up with Veteran Services and Mr. Lauer, and some transportations happened, or at least some potential transportations happened there with our Trailblazer transit system. So,
Mr. Chair, I am quite serious.
Something been very good. Go ahead, Doug.
I'm quite serious about that, Mr. Chair, that anybody needing masks, let us know. Let Sheila know. She knows how to get a hold of me, or anybody, just let us know, and we'll try to get you some masks. Thank you.
All right, Sheila, go ahead and.
No, thank you to Commissioner Kruger. His wife is making great masks, and my mother is self-quarantined due to meeting several of the risk categories, and she made some for her yesterday. So all of these people around our communities who are making masks are running out of supplies. So if you have extra supplies sitting at home, that may be even more helpful to them. All right, let's go to item A under County Administration, COVID-19 update and discussion. We have several people joining us on this Zoom conference call. We're going to try and be brief and not repetitive. Thank you to everyone for being patient during this meeting. Usually we've put this update at the beginning. However, today it is towards the end. So first we have A, Health and Human Services, Megan Moles, Interim Director, and Lori Snagowski, Public Health.
Well, thank you, Sheila, and Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thank you. I'm happy to be with you today. I just want to start out by saying thanks for all of your support. I heard a number of times during Commissioner reports about social distancing you're doing, using technology to make sure you're able to follow the stay-at-home order that remains in place. Mask making, all of these things are awesome and really contributing to our community's health. So thank you for doing that. In the interest of time, we're going to cut our report short. My main theme that I wanted to share with you today is the need in our community to continue the mitigation efforts we already have in place. So as everybody knows, the governor's stay-at-home order remains in place through this Friday. We anticipate he will issue an order probably extending that in some ways in the next day or so. So watch for that to happen. The reason we wanted to emphasize this point today is it can be difficult. We all are still talking about the fact that we're going to see a large number of cases in Minnesota. So far, we don't have even over 1,000, although obviously near 1,000 is still significant, and 30 deaths. We are not seeing the surge yet that they are seeing in other states, so it can be easy for members of the general public to start maybe believing that this really isn't going to happen. But just a reminder that the longer we continue these social distancing and other personal mitigation efforts, the more it's going to help us delay the onset of our surge and reduce the numbers that we experience. So just wanted to give a little pep talk. I also wanted to spend just 2 brief seconds here debunking some of the myths. about COVID-19. So I know there was discussion for some time about, obviously over 65, and if you are immune compromised or have certain chronic illnesses, you're at higher risk. That is true. But the largest number of cases in the state of Minnesota is in the 20 to 44-year-old age group. So there's been a myth out there that younger people can't get this or won't get this or won't be serious. We are certainly seeing COVID-19 among these young adult population groups. So just to make sure the public's aware of that. The other big myth I wanted to debunk in the short amount of time we have today is, I guess just to point out that the number one source of getting COVID-19 at this point is community transmission, which means that you really don't have a known source or a known contact or a known reason why you would have gotten COVID-19. So you don't have known exposure to a case, you haven't traveled to a place that's a hotspot, you just have gotten it some way through being present in the community. So again, I hope that rather than scaring people necessarily, just really encourages people to keep the pressure on and keep doing those mitigation strategies. So please wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. Stay home when you're sick. Cover your cough. And the last thing I wanted to address before I hand it off to Lori here is the new CDC recommendations around wearing cloth masks. We saw some beautiful examples of cloth masks a minute ago, and thank you, Commissioner Kruger, for displaying those for us. Oops, let me shut this off. The CDC is recommending wearing cloth face coverings, easy for me to say, in public settings where social distancing measures are difficult to maintain, for example, grocery stores and pharmacies, and we are, of course, under the stay-at-home order, still allowed to get those basic needs met. Now, the two cautions I want to point out is that you still shouldn't be going out if you're sick. If you're sick, if you're symptomatic, stay home. These cloth masks are really meant for people who are either asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, meaning they might be sick and they don't realize it yet. And they don't really necessarily protect you from getting COVID-19, but what they do is protect others from getting COVID from you in case you are, like I said, asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. And they're not to be used as personal protective equipment by medical professionals or first responders, but they can be really valuable to the general public. In the interest of time, I'm going to put a link in the notes and we'll push it out on our social media as well with some patterns for making sewable masks and no-sew masks. And then also other places besides the local ones that have been mentioned where people can get cloth masks if they decide they want to do that. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Lori for a few short comments, and then we will wrap up our report. Thank you.
Okay, Lori, go ahead.
All right, good morning, commissioners. Thank you, Megan. Just a few quick updates. Wanted to let you know that, as you're aware, we have one positive case in McLeod County. MDH notified us as we expected. For future cases, they're going to be just sending us an email. We are not planning to send out a media release to the public. Minnesota Department of Health will be sending that out daily at 11 o'clock. So that's how the public should expect to be notified via that way, as well as, let's see, we will be also updating our information line, that telephone line, with the statistics every day. So that can be a source for folks to see how we're doing locally. If there's any significant changes, of course, we'll be sending out a media release in that case. Currently, our staff is working very hard to make sure our providers have personal protective equipment and they know how to get more if they need them. And we're also working on making sure that we are prepared to provide essential services for people who are on isolation or quarantine due to COVID-19. So that's the quick summary.
All right, thank you. Kevin, I think you're up.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me? Good.
Yep.
Just a very brief summary. I only have one thing to brief you guys on, and obviously with this, we're looking at potentially reimbursement. So this will be eligible for 75% reimbursement from FEMA, as it's a presidentially declared disaster for the whole state of Minnesota. And then also the remaining 25% would be out of the state Homeland Security and Emergency Management disaster contingency account. So that would be ones that would actually be for that. The only category of eligibility is category B. and that is our emergency protective measures. So that covers everything from personal protective equipment, use of specialized medical equipment, emergency operations center costs, overtime, and a whole list of things that we're tracking and stuff. So I just want to let you know that is the process. So we will be working very closely with the state in the coming weeks and months so that we can actually go ahead and submit our documentation for the state and FEMA review to get reimbursed. So that is pretty much it for my report.
Sheila?
Thank you. Thank you to Megan and Lori, all their staff, and Kevin. I'll be brief, but I know that our workshop will start at least 10 minutes late. So for those of you who will be entering that room at 10:30, I have quite a few staffing items listed on the agenda after my update. Governor Walz's order to stay at home does expire at the end of this work week. However, we know it will likely be extended. We just do not know what that will look like today. My understanding is that we will hear more about that this afternoon. Our public-facing services remain limited through end of business day on April 13th, and they were expected to hopefully open back up to normal on April 14th. Now, our county board will need to review any extensions issued by the governor in the case that these efforts are needing to be extended. A high percentage of our employees have been working remotely. We practice physical distancing in our office areas, along with additional precautions for our staff who must come into contact with the public through their work. Please continue to support your local businesses operating at limited capacity. Continue to support the stay-at-home efforts. And also thank you to our educators for continuing to teach despite the new normal. Any updates regarding availability of our facilities and services will be noted first on our McLeod County website, would be shared with our local media, and noted on our Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Commissioners, any questions for Megan, Lori, Kevin, or Sheila regarding the COVID update?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to commend our complete Health and Human Service and Public Health staff for all the work they're doing and all the hard work they're putting in. I can't believe that the front line of our people is the job that they're doing, keeping everyone as safe as they can. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
It goes for all.
Thank you. We'll pass that along. Thanks so much.
All right. All right. With that, we're going to move on to administration. And just so everybody knows, the next few items are personnel items. A lot of them have been vetted through the Personnel Committee and through workshops. The commissioners may or may not have questions regarding them, but if they don't, it's not because they haven't been already asked, just so the public's aware of that. So as we roll through them, they're not just getting quote-unquote rubber stamped. They have been seen, and this is a continuation from a previous meeting 2 weeks ago, where we've taken the department heads' recommendations or concerns, vetted them, and then came forward with the recommendations to the full board. So, Sheila?
Thank you. Joe just made my job a lot easier for the morning. Sorry, Commissioner Nagel, as he noted, a lot of these positions, if you'll see the notes or you listen carefully, that they may be changed from a position that's either currently in place. Maybe we held off on filling that position. But I'm going to go ahead and start with item B under administration. Asking for our commissioners to consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to regrade the Public Works sign technician position from a grade 150 to grade 160. Review of the job description resulted in this recommendation. This affects one role in our organization.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Pohlmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Pohlmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item C. We're going to ask you to consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to reclassify engineering technician and senior engineering technician positions into the following classifications. A, engineering technician 1 at a grade 130. B, technician 2 at a grade 150. C, technician 3 at a grade 160. D, technician 4 at a grade 170. This reclassification would not result in addition of positions. However, it adds flexibility to the ability to recruit and fill these roles, currently engineering technician and senior engineering technician. Those 2, 3, and 4 technicians are those who would assist with bridge inspection. As you saw a few meetings ago, bridge inspection not being able to be performed by employees cost us around $78,000 recently. This would allow us to have flexibility to have better recruiting for people that are qualified for these roles. Thank you.
Again, these are not 4 new jobs. It's just the ability to be classified at different grades within one different job.
Correct.
All right, any questions? Or is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second, Commissioner Szymanski.
Motion by Commissioner, who is the motion by, please, gentlemen?
By me, Commissioner Polmeyer.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer, second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Yes. Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes, 5-0. Passes.
Thank you. Next 2 items, D and E, go hand in hand. Moving one up 2 grades, moving one down 2 grades. So we're going to start with D. Consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to replace the current role of Soil and Water Conservation District Technician, grade 160, to be SWCD Resource Conservationist, grade 180. Review of the job description resulted in this recommendation. SWCD is in support of the restructuring being requested.
You could add item D also.
Okay. Just noting with item D that this affects 1 employee, moving them from their current role to this role. Item E, this is a position that had opened up, I believe, last spring. I may be a little off on that, but we did not backfill it right away. They wanted to wait and see what their needs were, and this is what they came to. Consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to regrade the current open position of SWCD District Technician, grade 160, to be grade 140. This position has been open since last spring. The role would now assist the SWCD Resource Conservationist above in item D. SWCD is in support of the restructuring being requested.
All right, so gentlemen, we'll be taking D and E if you so choose.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve D and E to reclassify their grades.
All right, motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second, Paul Wright.
Second by Commissioner Wright, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item F, consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to reclassify the position in Finance of Chief Deputy Treasurer 2, grade 190, to Cash Management Officer, grade 180. Review of the job description after Finance was moved to Administration resulted in this recommendation. This affects 1 current employee.
Questions? All right, I'll move to approve item F. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item G has been reviewed for at least 2 years by the Personnel Committee. No, I'm sorry, that's for TriStar.
Okay.
Those are different. I don't see that Donna Burke is on the line, and I don't want to give you inaccurate information of what the funding sources are, but the work that they generate, it's a return on investment to have those employees to Health and Human Services. Mike, do you have anything to add with that? No? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Like many of our positions that work in the social services area of Health and Human Services, the work that is generated by those individuals helps to drive the funding that we need for the county.
Megan, are you able to comment on this at all?
I don't, oh, she's back, okay.
Yeah, I've been here listening, thanks. I believe if these positions are in Donna Burke's unit, they're long-term care positions, and those positions generally always pay for themselves. Sometimes they generate more revenue than they actually cost a county, so typically they're a good investment. Levy-free, close to levy-free, I would say. So thank you for considering them.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Is that through the MA program that they would pay for themselves? Thank you.
Yes, it would be through medical.
Did you catch the question? I'm sorry.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I jumped in. Yes, it's through medical assistance or Min Choices, which is our comprehensive assessment for that population. So either way, they're revenue generating positions.
All right, very good. All right, any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I again, I'm speaking for myself, but I deem them an essential employee. I mean, they're required for the care of our older people. I don't know just exactly how to say it, but they're not something that we're generating. They're a required position.
All right.
Did I say that right, Mr. Chair? I mean, do you agree? I guess I'm.
Yeah, and this has been vetted for, like Sheila said, for over 2 years, and I think we've gotten to the point where it's time to move forward with them. So, I guess we're looking for a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Wright, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Polmeyer?
Yes.
Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm, yes, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. With that, so as I stated, item H goes along with item G. Consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to add one additional full-time case aide position at grade 130. This person would work amongst the social workers noted and approved in your last vote.
All right. Any questions on this?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Szymanski moves to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski, is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm yes, 5-0. Carries. Item I.
Thank you. Item I and J as well may go along together, but I believe you should vote on them separately. Item I, consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to reclassify the building maintenance worker role as a maintenance engineer grade 140. Review of the job description resulted in this recommendation. We've been working close to 2 years to find what other counties have done, where we should put this position, how it should be written, what that skill level should be of those employees. This is a very difficult role to recruit. We all know that. We have our maintenance engineers, we've had turnover due to the grade and pay in that role and the skill level required. We are fortunate enough to have a couple of part-time individuals who help us very regularly in this role. However, it's been difficult for them to keep up with the changes and for us to meet the needs of our facilities. of the staff in this role and the training required. So that is all I have on that. Item I.
Any questions on item I?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve item I.
All right, I'll take you as a second, Doug.
Fine.
All right, second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? All right, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Yes. Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Item J?
Thank you. Item J, consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to replace the building maintenance worker role with the Maintenance Engineer 2 role as appropriate upon higher skill requirements being met and to be set at a grade 150. Review of the job description resulted in this recommendation as well. This would be when the person has advanced technical skills, including advanced boiler operation. I think we all know how much money that is spent by many different organizations on maintenance, contracting, repairs, and review of systems in place, and the amount of detail that it takes to process that every year at the county. As appropriate, with the note, if the person reaches that skill level, that they would be able to be a maintenance engineer 2 at a grade 150 with your approval.
Very good. Any questions on this?
Mr. Chair, I would move on item J.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
I'll second Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Yes. Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item K, consider approval of the collective bargaining agreement with Law Enforcement Labor Services Licensed Sergeants, local number 297, for December 22, 2019 through December 17, 2022.
Another contract that has been settled. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Szymanski moves to approve the LELS Sergeant's collective bargaining agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright? Yes. Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Item L.
Thank you. Item L, notification of board workshop to be held on April 21, 2020. Due to social distancing guidelines during the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be held via Zoom conferencing. Call-in and participation information will be posted on the agenda. Thank you.
All right, we're to open forum. Anyone, there's no one in the boardroom that wishes to address the board, other than staff, maybe here in a minute. Is there anyone on the Zoom call that wishes to address the board? Hannah, you seen anything? All right, any press relations? Karen, I saw you earlier, or anybody else from the media, anything?
We're all good here, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Sheila, Hannah, anything? Okay, so we're looking for a motion to recess until our next board meeting held April 21st, 2020 at 9 a.m. at the McLeod County Courthouse via Zoom conferencing. Due to social distancing guidelines related to the COVID-19 pandemic, attendance at the board meeting is not encouraged in person, although it is allowed. Zoom call-in participation information will be available on the agenda, and the meeting will be broadcast on HCBN for those who wish to participate from a distance. Zoom is a video and phone conferencing platform provider. There's a chat function within the Zoom call if you are participating using the computer or tablet for members of the public to participate in the open forum. And I will also add that if you have any questions or concerns or need help with that, call the administration office, speak to Liz, Hannah, or Sheila, and they will help you dial in for that. We want you to still participate in our meetings whenever possible. All right, I'm looking for a motion to recess, commissioners.
We'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Wright,
Second.
second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Polmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0. For those of you wanting to attend the workshop, give us 10 minutes and we'll fire it up. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.